If you like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. What's going on, Knuckleheads? Thank you so much for joining the Fighters Rep video podcast. I'm your host, the Fighters Rep, and today we're going to be talking about a crazy proposed fight out of left field, among other things. The Terence Crawford versus Conor McGregor proposal made by Bob Arum. Could you guys imagine Terence Crawford fighting Conor McGregor? That would be absolutely insane, and it looks like Bob Arum, who's Terence Crawford's promoter, is the one who has proposed this bout. And, to me, it's not the best look in boxing or for boxing, because it indicates to me that Bob Arum, besides trying to get a fight for his fighter that would amount to a lot of money, may be running out of options for Terence Crawford. The welterweight division that's not PBC owned is extremely slim pickings and extremely barren. And so for Bob Arum to propose this fight, says to me that, hey, Crawford's already done what he can do. At this point, let's try to make him a big money fight. I mean, it almost is an indication that he's hopeless when it comes to making fights against the PBC guys. I hope that's not the case. But I think that's, it's very strange that this sort of thing is happening. Crawford, as we know, one of the best welterweights in the world. So he's making the 147-pound limit. And, for him to fight Conor McGregor, who weighed in at 170 pounds but can make the 155 pounds, is interesting. It's something that could possibly happen. I'm assuming they would meet at 155 pounds at the very least if they were going to fight. And I think definitely a lot of hardcore boxing fans, I think everybody would tune in. It wouldn't be the same magnitude fight as a Floyd Mayweather fight. And it certainly wouldn't be the same magnitude as a Manny Pacquiao fight. But it still would be a fun fight nonetheless, something I would tune into. I'm not sure, though, if it'll get the same attention as a Mayweather or a Pacquiao fight. In fact, I can almost guarantee it wouldn't get the attention of those fights. So, it's a fight that I don't see happening. However, I do think that it's interesting that it was proposed, and a smart way for a promoter to kind of keep his guy out there and relevant. And that's Bob Arum at the age of, 150, still out there promoting his guy. And the reason I think the fight would never happen is because, again, there's the Mayweather fight and there's the Pacquiao fight. I do think the Pacquiao one seems like the most likely one to happen at this point. And I think McGregor would take that fight because Pacquiao is a bit older and even smaller than Mayweather. Not older than Mayweather, but smaller and a bit older. When I say a bit older, I mean, long in the tooth. Manny Pacquiao's over 40 years of age, so it would be interesting to see that fight, especially with Conor McGregor having such a massive advantage in stature. I mean, Conor McGregor would be, I think, much bigger than Manny Pacquiao. That's not to say he'd beat him, but I think he'd have a decent shot. I thought he, put up again, people disagree with me. I thought he put up a fantastic fight against Floyd Mayweather, and I think he would also, do a pretty good job against Manny Pacquiao, especially if Pacquiao shows up and his age starts to show itself. So a big shout out to everybody in the chat room. I appreciate you guys joining me for this Fighters Rep video podcast. As you know, we go live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. and we talk about combat sports. We are the only kickboxing promotion in the state of California. You could tune in right here on YouTube on February 28th if you want to support us. You could also donate to the channel, buy your t-shirt in the link below from Fighters Rep. So, big shout out to everybody in here. Neil, the security, haven't seen you in here before. D-Boy65. Salute my brother, Muay Thai 23. Much love to you. And Fight Life Nation, my man. Thank you so much for joining, brother. And Fight Life Nation, we're going to go ahead and make this account of yours a moderator as well. We know you're Marco Martinez, and we want to basically give you the same powers that you have as Marco Martinez, also as Fight Life Nation. So Neil of Security says, hey, what's up, man? I'm a big fan. I really appreciate that, Neil. Much appreciated, my man. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. D-Boy65 said, we don't need this. Let boxing be boxing and MMA be MMA. Shaking my head. That's something I agree with, but this is catered to the majority fans. And the majority fans are the casual fans. Let's not forget that. Us hardcore fans, time and time again, are disappointed and kind of left in the rear view, kind of left in the dust. People don't really think about us that much, especially in the sport of boxing, when they put together these gimmicky, circus fights. But, they're trying to cater to their casual fan. They're trying to make as much money as possible. And while I agree with you, this is what we're getting. Muay Thai 23 says CM Punk versus Triple G bare knuckle. My goodness, Muay Thai 23. I'm going to have to hire you on as a brainstormer for the FightersRep team to help me put together these amazing fantasy matchups. What do you guys think of Terence Crawford versus Conor McGregor? The fact that it was even promoted. Who do you guys think would win? I think anybody in their right mind would have Conor McGregor losing that bout. Terence Crawford obviously winning that bout, considering where Crawford is at in his career. But I'm sure everybody would tune in to watch anyway, man. Even us hardcore fans wouldn't be able to help ourselves. We'd have to tune in and watch that. Fight Life Nation says Pac-Man may be older, but his style would carve McGregor up. And that could be the case. But he might just be so short and at such a reach disadvantage and so old at this point that I could see McGregor having some success with him, especially in the beginning of the fight, where McGregor's strong. McGregor's very strong at the beginning of the fight. Obviously, he gets tired and gasses out, but who knows what would happen against Manny Pacquiao. I'd be interested to see that fight. I don't think that's a fight that that would be too lopsided. Manny Pacquiao versus McGregor. A lot of people might think I'm crazy, but again, I feel like Manny Pacquiao is not in his prime anywhere, nowhere near it. He's just looking for money fights. He's just looking to further cement his legacy, do what he loves, win a couple belts that are easy to win. Do stuff like that. If he really wanted to challenge himself and felt like he was in his prime, I think he would have fought Terence Crawford or, would be calling to fight guys like that. But I don't think Manny Pacquiao is there anymore. But again, I could be wrong. Fight Life Nation says, Arum said Crawford would do an MMA fight first. I think this is just talk. He said that Crawford has some sort of wrestling base. My understanding is Terence Crawford's children are heavy into wrestling. I don't know how heavy Terence Crawford is into wrestling. I'm sure he's maybe dabbled in it a little bit. But to say that he's going to go in there and fight Conor McGregor in an MMA fight, I think would be foolish. I think that would be a foolish thing to do for Terence Crawford. I think that would be a ridiculous thing for him to do as his promoter. I would never advise such a thing. MMA is a different world than boxing. An MMA fighter they can make it in boxing. They can get by. All it is punching, 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s and 5 and 6 and no kicks and no wrestling and no grappling and none of that. It's a completely different world when you get to the ground. It's like being a fish out of water if you don't know what you're doing on the ground against some of these prolific jiu-jitsu guys, or not even prolific. I mean, if you go to your local BJJ, studio, or or, academy, and you don't know what you're doing on the ground, you could be a fantastic striker and as athletic as you want to be. And soon as one of these guys gets you on the ground and locks something up, you're in big trouble. So, I don't think that Terence Crawford will ever take an MMA fight. Certainly don't think he would take one against a guy like Conor McGregor, who would probably be looking to finish him right away, would probably, kick his legs so hard as to permanently, disable his legs. It would just be absolutely ridiculous for that to happen. So I just think, it's smoke and mirrors from Grandpa Arum, who's decided to put his guy out there because maybe he can't get him. Maybe he can't get him the quality fights or the big money fights that he's looking for in the welterweight division. D-Boy65 says Pacquiao beat up Margarito, who is bigger than McGregor. Yes, D-Boy65, absolutely. But let's not forget when that was. I mean, that happened quite a while ago. Let's see what the date on that one is. Pacquiao versus Antonio Margarito. That fight went down in 2010, so we're talking a decade ago already. Almost an entire decade has passed since Manny Pacquiao beat up Antonio Margarito. And, you're not going to tell me that it's the same Manny Pacquiao of 10 years ago that would come in against Conor McGregor this year. It just wouldn't happen. Fight Life Nation says Crawford reminds me of an old saying that I think I saw in a movie. He has two things going against him. He's good and he's back. He deserves big fight. I think you mean he's good and he's black. I think that's what you mean. But, maybe, I don't want to get into the whole personal politic thing too much. But there are a lot of black boxers, and they're all, a lot of them are doing really well, I think, as far as being able to get the fights that they want or having success in combat sports. Look at guys like Israel Adesanya, right? Look at guys like Deontay Wilder. Look at Anthony Joshua. Who's more successful in the boxing world than Anthony Joshua? The only person that you can really say is as big or maybe bigger than Anthony Joshua is Canelo Alvarez. So I don't really buy into the racial narrative too much. I'm sure it has some effect. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to say that, it's not a factor at all, but but if we're going to talk about, if we're going to talk about racial disadvantages or advantages in boxing and ignore the fact that Anthony Joshua is basically the biggest star in world boxing, it becomes a bit of a slippery slope. I think Crawford's issue more than anything is the fact that he's really good, and in order for him to solidify himself atop the welterweight division, he's going to have to fight a stable of guys that are all promoted and under the advisement of Al Heyman, which is a separate, who is a separate promoter. And promoters historically just don't work together that well. You know what I mean? And for him to be in, with a promoter like Bob Arum, who doesn't have too many guys for him to fight, and for that promotion to basically be a rival of PBC, where you have, tons of welterweights, seemingly, it's a sticky situation for Crawford. I don't think it takes away from his greatness too much, because he does give off the impression that he wants to fight the best. That's why I respect Terence Crawford so much. Besides the fact that he's awesome, he wants to fight the best. But, he's just in this position where it's like, the Hatfields and the McCoys, they're just not going to fight each other. These promoters are just not going to work with each other unless, something gives. Something gives. And people will say that, well, but they're working together with Tyson Fury, who's a Bob Arum promoted fighter, versus Deontay Wilder, who's a PBC promoted fighter. Why are they working together there versus, them not working together for Crawford and Spence and the rest of these guys? And I'll tell you why. I'll give you my honest to God opinion. So when Tyson was set to fight Deontay Wilder, he was still, I believe he was still with Frank Warren. I mean, he wasn't even, I don't believe he was with Arum like that, right? But even if he was with Arum, let's say he was, which I don't remember now, Tyson Fury was coming off an almost 3-year layoff where he ballooned up to like 400 pounds and was snorting coke and doing God knows what. Who knows what this guy was doing, right? So it was because of his inactivity and because of the potential that he was going to come in and just be a complete bum and get destroyed. I believe it was because of that Al Heyman and PBC decided, hey, we're going to get Deontay this fight. This is an easy fight for us. Or a fight that seemingly can be easy and get Deontay Wilder that lineal championship sort of title, right? By beating Tyson Fury, who was the man who beat the man. So I think that's what they saw. They saw vulnerabilities in Tyson. That's why they got into the ring with him. And, it's borderline backfired on them. I mean, if you ask me, Tyson Fury won that fight. But, we got what we got. We got a draw. And, of course, now they're in a situation where they've already fought. They fought to a draw. And both promoters are comfortable hashing that out. Whatever happens, happens there. As far as, Crawford and Spence, you don't, or Crawford and any of the other PBC guys, you don't have that situation really. Especially with Crawford and Spence, you don't have that situation where one of the guys has deteriorated. I mean, it's left to be seen where Spence is at after his accident. We don't know where he's at. But it's not a situation where the guy was out of the ring for almost 3 years and doing drugs and just a sort of mess and just a potential shell of his former self. And there's a lot more hesitation to make this fight. There's a lot more hesitation to basically lose your best welterweight or have your best welterweight go in there and lose against the other promoter's best welterweight. I think with Fury and Wilder, they've already done that dance. We came to a draw, and they're fine running it back. And the only reason they did it the first time, again, is because they probably thought Fury had no shot. But, now that they've already done it, to hell with it. Let's do it again. It's the fight everybody wants to see. It's going to make us a lot of money. So, I think that's what happened there. I could be wrong. But I think it's more of a promotional issue than anything and more of a sort of guidance issue for their fighters. Muay Thai 23 says, bro, who's your number one active boxer with the most CTE? Wow, that's horrible, Muay Thai 23. You're a horrible guy, and I want you to go back to your family and tell them, Mom and Dad, help me with my conscience. I'm saying these crazy things on the FightersRep chat. I'm talking out of line. I'm talking like I'm a crazy person. And, help me figure things out. Help me iron things out here. Because I'm a bit of a mess. But FightersRep, they still love me. They want me around. So help me out, Mom and Dad. Fight Life Nation says, is there any word on when Andy Ruiz plans on coming back? Unfortunately, right now, I haven't heard anything about Andy Ruiz. And last time when I went to speak to Manny Robles, who I recently interviewed again about the Wilder versus Fury rematch, he didn't really indicate to me that Andy Ruiz was coming back anytime soon. I'm sure Andy Ruiz is still sort of licking his wounds after that loss. It was a big loss. He sort of had everything and lost everything in the matter of a few months. And basically in one night, he lost everything. So I don't think that Andy Ruiz is going to come back very soon. but I hope he does. And it looks like Eddie Hearn made an offer to Andy Ruiz to fight Dillian White, who, as we know on this channel, is my favorite heavyweight, pretty much. And Dillian White is waiting on that fight to happen, or on that contract, I guess, from Andy Ruiz. Another fight that was proposed, I believe, is the Povetkin fight. So it would be Dillian White versus Povetkin, which I think is another good fight for Dillian White. It just put another, good name on his resume. Dillian White, again, a guy who's been the mandatory for Deontay Wilder for over 800 days and still hasn't had an opportunity to fight for Deontay Wilder's WBC title. And, let's not forget now, Dillian White is the current WBC interim heavyweight title. But, everybody knows he wants the smoke. The major heavyweights are not giving him the smoke at this time. I know Anthony Joshua stopped him, but if you ask me, this Dillian White that's active now, the current Dillian White, motivated and in his prime, is going to give Anthony Joshua a hell of a fight. He's going to give Anthony Joshua a hell of a fight. And I think he gives Tyson Fury a hell of a fight. And I think he gives Deontay Wilder a real hell of a fight. I mean, I think Dillian White, if he's going to be a problem for any of the, the three-headed hydra that's in the heavyweight division right now, if he's going to give anybody a problem, it's going to be Deontay Wilder. I just think that their styles mesh in a way where, sure, Deontay Wilder can uncork that big right hand and finish Dillian White. But Dillian White is so fucking tough, right? Dillian White is going to go out on his shield. He's not easy to put away. As we've seen, he can take a shot. And he's going to keep coming. He's going to keep coming. He's a very, very tough guy. Probably one of the toughest guys in the heavyweight division, if not the toughest guy in the heavyweight division. But definitely one of them. And I do think if they give him a shot at Wilder, that would be a fantastic fight. I think it's a fight that needs to happen. Fight Life Nation says, is there anyone scheduled on the undercard of Fury versus Wilder? That's a major pay-per-view. Actually, there is. And it's one guy that we've interviewed on this channel versus another guy that we plan on interviewing with the channel. He actually interrupted my second Manny Robles interview in a very funny way. It looks like Gerald El Gallo Negro Washington is going to be fighting Prince Charles Martin on the undercard. I believe that bout's been confirmed. I saw that on Bernie Hopalian's Facebook page. Bernie Hopalian, of course, a great friend of FightersRep, a great friend of the channel, a guy I really love very much, one of the best trainers in boxing. Posted it, I believe it was today, on his Facebook. I actually reached out to him. I wasn't able to reach him today, but he always calls me back. He's a very busy guy with all the training and stuff he does. And Bernie Hopalian put it on his social media, I believe it was Facebook, that bout is confirmed. So I think that's a fun fight, Gallo Negro versus Prince Charles Martin. Two local guys, two guys here in Southern California. And of course, Charles Martin training at the Jackrabbit Gym. Much love to them for the hospitality, letting me go in there and interview the guys. And Gallo Negro, who I've interviewed twice, once in person, once over the phone on this podcast. And so, that's a fun fight for me. That's a fun fight, and I look forward to that fight. But as far as other fights scheduled on the undercard right now, I don't know. Jamaican says, Bud isn't much of a draw globally. Conor is the smartest businessman in combat sport. If he boxes again, it'll be a Floyd rematch or a Manny Pac fight. And I think if I'm Conor McGregor, I don't know. I feel like Floyd Mayweather wouldn't get back in the ring with Conor McGregor. I don't know if he would. Maybe he would. I don't know. Maybe Floyd's just talking to stay relevant. Who knows? But I don't know. Who would you guys pick if you're Conor McGregor? Floyd or Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao? I think I would go with Pac-Man, I think I would go with Pac-Man if I was Floyd May or if I was Conor McGregor, because I feel like that's a fight that can get done faster. maybe than the Mayweather fight. As you know, Mayweather, is good at blowing smoke up people's behinds. Let's be honest. Even though I believe he's the greatest boxer that I've ever seen in my lifetime, I think he's a little bit unstable as far as what he's gonna do, who he's gonna fight, especially now that he's retired, and you never know. You never know what he's going to do, and I feel like he'd be a bit more difficult to get back in the ring than Manny Pacquiao, who seems to be a very simple guy and ready to fight right away. So, I think for that reason, just for the ease of it, I would probably pick Manny Pacquiao if I was Conor McGregor. I also feel like he's got a better shot against Manny Pacquiao. Perhaps a Floyd Mayweather fight looks very similar to the last one, although I do think Conor's very good at making adjustments, but we'll see. Fight Life Nation says, let's see here, Dillian Whitewater better get in shape. He can't be coming in like his last fight. I agree with that 100%, Marco. Dillian White looked extremely lazy and out of shape in his last fight, but that's, let's be honest, the guy was going through it. I mean, they had basically convicted him in the courtroom of the world, in the public eye. He'd been basically tarred and feathered for failing a certain drug test, or allegedly failing a drug test, and at the end of the day, they were able to clear him. But let's not forget, he was in a very dark place. He didn't know when he was going to be approved again to fight. He didn't know how long this situation was going to last. Were they going to ban him? So, I mean, the guy was in a very dark place, and I think that would happen to somebody if, they're working towards their passion and some BS comes up that prevents them from doing it. So, I mean, I can understand why White came in less than ideal shape in his last fight, but typically he comes in ready to fight and in shape, and I really look forward to seeing him fight in the future. Let's see here. Fight Life Nation says, Bernie is an interesting dude with a great backstory. You should get him on the podcast. I was trying to get him on today, but I just couldn't reach him. I do have an interview with him on this channel. He's got a fantastic backstory. He talks about in the interview that I did with him how he was basically living in a truck in an alley and was a recovered heroin addict. And, if you know anything about heroin addiction, I mean, it's essentially impossible to get away from heroin once you're addicted to it. So, it goes to show you the willpower that Bernie Hopalian has, the mental strength. And definitely going to try to get him on the podcast soon. Jamaican says, if I was Conor, I'd pick Floyd in a rematch. I'd like to know why you would pick Floyd in that rematch, Jamaican. I'm very interested. Fight Life Nation says, I'd go with Mayweather. It's way more money. The pay-per-view numbers don't lie. But I hope Conor stays in MMA. And I would agree with you. I hope Conor does stay in MMA because I feel like there's a lot of unfinished business in MMA. Boxing is a bit more dangerous. He's more likely to lose in boxing, and if he keeps losing, it's gonna, let's be honest, it's gonna sort of harm that aura of invincibility that he's got, or that aura of superiority. I mean, I know he's lost already, but after his performance with Cowboy, I think he wants to gain some of that momentum back, some of that aura back, some of that Mystic Mac back, and I think him staying in MMA and dealing with the unfinished business he has there in his sport would be wiser than going back into boxing. Fight Life Nation, okay, Jamaican just threw up $4 sign, so we know why Jamaican would go with Floyd Mayweather if he was Conor McGregor. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. I feel like a Manny Pacquiao fight would draw a lot of money as well, but definitely a Floyd Mayweather fight would do more, especially in Vegas. Fight Life Nation says, does Masvidal lose a bit of shine with Conor not fighting him? I don't think so. I think the best thing for Masvidal to do is to fight Kamaru Usman. I feel like that's a fight that's brewing. That's a beef that's brewing, and I'm very excited about that beef. If I'm being honest, I think Usman is a little oaky. He's a little goofy and awkward with his trash talk with the Masvidal who thing. I think Masvidal is a lot more of a genuine trash talker. I don't think Usman will do much as far as his personality goes to sell that fight. But I think the fact that it's a championship fight and Jorge Masvidal being who he is with his current star power, it would sell the hell out of that fight. I think Masvidal by himself can sell that fight. And let's be honest, Usman is a beast. He's a beast of an opponent. So, the hardcore fans are going to tune in for that. And the casual fans are going to tune in for Masvidal and for all the trash talk. So, I don't think him not fighting Conor will make him lose any sort of shine. I think he could always turn around and fight Conor later on. But I do think the best outcome or the best trajectories would be for Masvidal to fight Kamaru Usman, and then, the winner maybe, I don't know, fight Leon Edwards or something like that. And then in Conor's division at 155, for the winner of Khabib and Tony to fight the winner of Conor and Gaethje, which I think is the next fight that should happen. But it looks like the UFC is, they're pushing Conor towards that title, man. They're pushing him straight to that belt, and I don't know if I agree with that, man. I don't think that's legitimate. I mean, I think a guy like Justin Gaethje has the rightful, next crack. He's on deck to go up against the winner of Khabib and Tony, which is a very, very interesting fight, a fight that I'm really looking forward to, and a fight that I think Conor McGregor said may not even happen. And, we've already tried making that fight so many times and it's never happened, so who knows what's going to happen there. So before we continue, Knuckleheads, thank you guys so much for joining the chat. Again, we do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m., so please subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon next to it to support Fighters Rep. We've got Fighters Rep 9 coming up with some of the best striking talent you're ever going to see. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. If you're anywhere near Southern California, get your tickets on sale now at FightersRep.com. And if you can't make it, you could tune in live right here on YouTube. Our fights are live right here. I do that, to keep them free, to bring more attention to Fighters Rep, to bring more attention to our sport, the unified rules kickboxing. I think it's the best rule set in the world, and I believe that because it's all striking. There's no grappling. It's basically a boxing match where if you clinch, the referee's going to break you up just like in boxing, except you're also allowed to throw kicks and knees. So it's a boxing match where you're allowed to throw kicks and knees. That's unified rules kickboxing. I think it's the best rule set in the world. There's no lull in the action. They're constantly scrapping. If you get hurt, you can try to clinch, but they're going to break you up. You got to bang your way out of that hurt. You got to fight your way out. And it's just a lot of fun. And Fight Life Nation is saying, I saw there's a title fight scheduled. There is a title fight scheduled for Fighters Rep 9. I'd like to announce it right now. It's Gabriel Silva, which is the son of the Spider, Anderson Silva. He's going to be fighting for us against a very talented and also very talented and very dangerous Christian Williams out of King's MMA. And if King's MMA sounds familiar, it's because that's where Kelvin Gastelum trains. That's where Master Cordero is the owner and is the head trainer. You got Beneil Dariush that trains there. So, some of the best guys in the UFC are trained in there, as well as Systems Training Center, where Gabriel Silva trains out of. Again, the son of Anderson Silva. And this fight is going to be for the middleweight IKF Southern California Championship. It's just, I'm absolutely hyped, over the moon for this fight. These are two very talented, undefeated kids that are really, I mean, hurting their opponents. You know, for Christian Williams, essentially, I mean, I don't know how else to put it, had me worried sick in the last fight because he basically knocked out his opponent in the ring. And I mean, we had to get the ambulance in there, and it was really crazy. I mean, so these kids, very tough, very talented, and it's something you guys are going to want to, you guys are going to not want to miss. And Fight Life Nation is saying that the event's going to be fired. Absolutely is. Christian Williams got a big KO last time, didn't he? Yes, he did. It was a big, violent KO. Again, something that, you know, really scared me as a promoter, but thank God his opponent is okay. And we get a lot of knockouts on these Fighters Rep cards. Again, there's no grappling, so I mean, guys got to basically stand and bang it out. And in a rule set like that, I mean, you're going to get nothing but knockouts. I've also got John Garcia as a pro fight. John Garcia out of Team Victory Muay Thai, one of the best camps in Southern California and in the world. John Garcia is going to be going up against Milton Arguello, the Diamond Arguello, a guy with, you know, several MMA fights. Going to be a fantastic fight. That's a fight I'm really looking forward to. And we've got a couple other fights in the works. We're hoping to get Anthony Workin from right here in Fight Solutions in Long Beach. We're hoping to get him in there against Trey Branch, a young talent out of Bakersfield, California. Got both guys with good striking experience. And, you know, we're aiming for a couple more fights. I'm also looking to get Bruno Souza, who's one of Lyoto Machida's proteges, trying to get him in against Jake Haas. Jake the Avocado Haas, one of the best nicknames you'll ever hear in your life. He's out of he's out of Northern California. He'll be coming down here to fight Bruno Souza. Again, one of Lyoto Machida's talents, also trains at CMMA. I'm telling you guys, fantastic card if you know, everything comes together with the pro fights, which it will, you know, and we're aiming for 16 fights, so you're definitely going to get your money's worth if you come through and get your tickets at FightersRep.com or tune in right here live. All I do ask is if you guys tune in live, you know, donate a little bit of something to, you know, keep us free. I'm trying to do this fight game differently. I want to put out free events and you know, instead of people illegally streaming and all this bullshit, hey, if they love the fights, they could support with a donation. You know what I mean? And hopefully we can make money from the gate and with sponsors and stuff to keep it free permanently. That would be really cool. But anyway, knuckleheads, almost 40 minutes into this thing. You know, I gotta sign off at this time. But I appreciate you guys joining the chat very much. Please like, share, comment. You know, tell people about the channel. Get people to come on and you know, join the discussions with us Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7 p.m. Pacific. And immediately after all the big fights, my brothers, man, I appreciate you guys so much. I will see you guys on Friday. I will have another interview up for you tomorrow. It's with the heads of the Jackrabbit Boxing Gym. That's where Manny Robles and Prince Charles Martin and everybody's at. And I spoke to them because it's essentially becoming another wild card gym. But here in Long Beach, I mean, it's really popping. And you guys will see in the video, you know, the amount of cars that pulled up to the gym and all the people in the gym. And just a beautiful place and something that really helps the fight culture down here in Long Beach. So much love to you guys. I'm going to let you guys go now. Thank you guys for joining me. And then till next time, as usual, keep it clean. Mahalo, you are a little bit late. I appreciate you, my man. But we'll see you on Friday, guys.